Hi guys, it's Mark from Mind Frontiers. Today I've been asked to do two videos, but they're both interlinked. So one is on anger and frustration, and one is on patience. So we're going to take each one in turn. So we'll talk about anger and frustration in this one, and then I'll talk about patience in the next one. Anger and frustration. This is a very, very common problem, especially at the minute. Now, there are reasons that we get angry and we get annoyed and we get frustrated. Our emotions still come from within. Sorry, got a frog in my throat. Must taste nice. So, anger and frustration. So, what exactly is it? Simply put, our anger and our frustration comes when something else is different from the way we think. So our model of the world says we need to do it this way, and somebody else's model of the world says, well, no, we can do it this way. Or if we're getting our model of the world and we want to achieve something, but we're having difficulty doing it. So a lot of things like physical illness and things like that can hamper what we really want to do. So we can be physically disabled, we can be mentally disabled. We could have learning difficulties. We could be mixing up with other people. And when our programs are working for us, everything's fine. But when our programs aren't working for us, or there's physical instances that's going to prevent us from achieving things, we begin to get annoyed and frustrated. We can be getting annoyed and frustrated at other people because they're not listening to us. But we can also get annoyed and frustrated at ourselves because we should be doing something and we're not able to. That leads us to a problem, because we have to learn to accept ourselves as we are. If we accept ourselves for who and what we are, then anger and frustration will start to decrease. We might still want to do those things that we want to do. We might be able to break them down so that we can do it in small, steady and paced steps. But sometimes that's still impossible. Even though impossible, when you break it down, says I'm possible. So I'm possible. So when mind over matter, it can help. What we've got to do is look to overcome those obstacles. Sometimes we have to adapt ourselves. So that means looking back and reflecting and changing and controlling the things we can control. And sometimes it's about looking at ourselves and going, actually, yeah, I can understand that. Okay, so today, for example, I'm having a bad day. So what is it in my control that I can do today? And then maybe when I'm having a better day, I could do something else. In a slow, steady, progressive manner. If we look at anger and frustration, the chemicals in our blood, the adrenaline, the cortisol, they run around our blood. And then we're likely to flip just like that. We're likely to just... the switch is going to turn on and we're going to get angry. So look at the causes of the anger. Okay, so maybe you want to get something done, or somebody said something that doesn't fit the way that you think. Many different ways that anger can form. Recognise that anger, because it's an emotion. All emotions have an intent and a goal orientated activity. So what are you getting out of that? And that will be an unconscious program. You will probably not understand what it is that you're getting out of being angry. Well, they should see it from my point of view. I should be doing such and such, but I can't today. So I cannot not do this today. So what happens when you say I cannot not? Because our brain has problems with recognising the nots, because we have to make pictures of ourselves. So there are things we can do, though it's not perfect. We have to look at ourselves. We have to learn to be able to deal with that anger and that frustration. That comes from acceptance. Looking back and going, okay, and reflection. So we reflect back and go, I've got this feeling. This is why I've got this feeling. This is the cause of this feeling. So what can I do about it in this moment in time? Because when we live in the moment in time, the time is always now. And when I first started the video, that's now in the past. And when I end this video, that's in the future. It's not in the here and now. So let's be in the here and now. Look at what we can do to change those feelings in the here and now. So some might want to say, I'm going to do some relaxing techniques. Some say, I'm going to do some meditation. You could say, today I'm learning how to deal with anger. And that leads us on to the patience one in the next video. You've got to look at what it's doing to your body and how you can sort it out, because you are the one that's creating it, because of the need and the desire of wanting to do something, or something not fitting in the way that with what you think. Now we're all individuals, every single one of us. We all have can have similar experiences, but we'll have a different perception of those experiences. So if somebody's making you angry, and you are angry, it's not them making you angry, you're making yourself angry from their responses. So look at your own responses and go, okay, yeah, that in the past would make me angry, so what else can I do differently? Because their model of the world, so their menu is not the same as your menu. You might have a lovely dish of spaghetti bolognese, and that's your model of the world. But they got fish and chips. And you're like, but I don't like fish and chips, but I don't like spaghetti bolognese. Suddenly we get frustrated, we get angry. We can have the same program and the same conflict within ourselves. I should be doing this, but physically I can't. Okay, so physically I can't do this, but I want to. And I'm annoyed and frustrated because I cannot do what I want to do and what I have to do. So how can you break that down? How can you make that into smaller steps? The smaller steps that you can make, the more achievable these targets come, even with physical issues. And then it comes about looking at each step, mentally rehearsing that step, so you imagine actually completing that step. So you make a visual picture, which we can do in other videos, of how you actually achieve that first step. And now there might be some times when you can't achieve that first step because you're having a bad day, as I've said before. So you look at it for when you can do those steps. And once those steps are accomplished, you can then look back and go, yeah, I've achieved that. That was really good. I did really well. And it doesn't matter how small a step that's going to be. The smaller and more specific the step, the easier it is to accomplish. So for some people that have issues, it might just be getting out of bed in the morning. It might just be tying up shoelaces. So, but then you can also look at, okay, I'm struggling here, so what resources and help might I need to help me accomplish this? And what we're doing is learning to set mini targets so that we can deal with our own emotions and accomplish what we need to do. Not an easy task, but the more we become mentally rehearsed and we more practice, the more habits we create with our unconscious mind. So look at those processes. And if something is not working, then change what you're doing. Because if you've always done what you've always done, you'll always get the same result. There won't be any different result. So what's in your control at this minute in time? What can you do differently? How can I break this down into small steps? Maybe write it down on an action plan. So get a piece of paper and go, what am I struggling with today? What do I need to accomplish? What are my have to do's? What are my must do's? And what are my want to do's? And then how can you do your have to's with a want to attitude? So ask yourself, what is the benefit of me doing the have to's? What's the benefit for me? When you realise what the benefit is of getting the have to's done, so for example if you're self-employed and you get angry at your taxes and it's something you really don't like to do, ask yourself, well, what's the benefit of me completing my taxes on time? I don't get fined, I can pay my mortgage, I can pay my bills, I can feed the family, I can, maybe not at the minute because we've got a pandemic, but maybe I could go on holiday, or maybe I could buy myself a treat. And then the have to start moving to a want to. And you're less likely to be angry because you've broken it down into smaller steps, you've put an action plan in, and then you start to achieve that action plan. So, but again, when we've got anger towards other people, their action plan might be different to ours. And if it's a relationship opportunity where you're both in conflict and you're angry at each other, well, what can you do differently? Are you willing to work together? Is there a compromise? Is there similarities on the action plan? Because then you can start bringing it together and you can actually see it from another perspective. When you start looking at it from other perspectives and you work on your own emotions, you start looking and you start dealing with the anger. Now, I for one used to be extremely angry. I had a lot of pain in my head and it meant that I couldn't do a lot of things. And I used to shout and bawl and the impact it had on other people, it wasn't very pleasant. So I had to take responsibility for myself. And at that time I was physically not able to do a lot of things because I used to collapse on the floor. So I had to take responsibility for myself. I had to break it down into very, very, very small steps as to what I could do. And I used to get very frustrated at myself because I used to be a theatre nurse. I used to work in the hospitals and help care for people. And I was unable to do that anymore. I was unable to look after my family. Instead, they had to look after me, and that I found very annoying and very frustrating because I wanted to be doing it. But it starts with small steps, and the smaller you make it, the more easier it is to achieve. So break it down. Look at yourself, what the emotion is doing to you, and look at how you can release that emotion in a safe place. So when I work with people with autism, they often go to a safe place. So they go to a tent in their room, for example, where they can actually let that emotion out. Once the emotion is dealt with, the rational brain can then look at the processes behind the emotion and go, well, okay, so what can we do differently next time? We've got to bring it back. Small and steady steps. Mentally rehearse each and every step of the things that you want to accomplish. And then with the power of reflection, you can go, I did a good job today. And your little unconscious mind will go, oh yeah, what about XYZ? Oh yeah, I'll give you that. But I can do better next time. And then it starts to form new habits. Slow and steady wins the race is a proverb. Slow and steady wins the race. So break it down. Small, very big, small steps, not big, huge steps, but small, tiny little steps. And look at what's in your control. And if you find yourself getting frustrated, even on the little steps, okay, so look at yourself, reflect and go, okay, I'm really stressed, I'm really angry, I'm really frustrated. Okay, maybe I'll take a few deep breaths, concentrate my thoughts onto my breaths, and just allow the focus onto the breath. So the breath comes in and comes out naturally, so that you learn to just chill at that minute in time. You learn to become the observer. Then you can start saying, okay, I'm finding this very, very difficult, and it is annoying me and frustrating me, so what can I do to do that? Do I accept how far I've come? Because sometimes we have to accept ourselves on the journey. If we accept ourselves all the way, then that's fabulous. But if we learn to accept ourselves on the journey, the less frustration and anger we'll get. So, oh well, I've come this far. Or, oh well, I've not got very far today. What can I do differently tomorrow? Because tomorrow, as they say, is a brand new day. And every day we have is different. Even if we have physical issues, even if we have mental health issues, every new day is different. And it's like a book. So you've got a book, and you can read a story and go, yeah. But tomorrow's a brand new chapter. Tomorrow's a brand new story. So you can start to learn to write yourself a better story. It just may take time and practice, which forms your habits. So start reflecting. Look at your inner self. Because your inner self is pure. Your higher self, if you want to call it, is pure. Whatever you want to call it, it's pure. It's just this physical body and our ego brain that drives us. And if we constantly feed the ego, the story's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the problems will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And our ego drives our body. That's our unconscious mind. So it makes us go to the toilet. It makes us want to eat. So we can feed it at the right times. And stop feeding it when we're angry and frustrated, so that it starts to shrink. So your conscious mind can take control over the ego and go, yeah, I've come a long way today. I've not done as much as what I wanted to do, but I've done quite a bit. Or I've not done anything today because it's too difficult for me today. So tomorrow's a new day. So what strategies can I do differently that I would have done today? How can I approach it in a different way? And maybe you might find another solution. So let's think outside the box, guys. Become the observer of the thought. Start to notice your anger and your frustration, because if you get angry and frustrated, you're less likely to be able to do the things that you're going to achieve, because the adrenaline is going, and you might go, well, let's say I wanted to open a bottle and I'm going like this, but I'm getting angry and frustrated, and the more angry I'm getting, the less grip I've got. Or I might even break the glass, and then suddenly I've cut my hand. Rather than going, okay, so what resources and tools can I use at this minute in time? Oh, I know, I'll use this, the old tap technique. So I tap the glass, the lid, and it's opened. If you start looking for alternative solutions to your problems with a rational brain, and noticing and becoming self-aware of your anger, you can actually let go of the anger and find different solutions. But if you do it in small baby steps, it will become easier to achieve. Anyway, guys, that's my little talk on anger and frustration. Now this is a massive topic, and I've just kept it quite small. It's a huge topic, and there's many different strategies out there. Big one is self-reflection. Learning techniques that can help you to let go of that anger. Now, some people like to go for a cycle ride or whatever it might be, because then your rational brain can actually take over. Big thing is to do in small baby steps, and then you can reflect back and accept where you've come from, accept where you are, accept if there's any difficulties that you've had. So, I've had this difficulty today. You're acknowledging the difficulty that you've had, so that you can form a solution for it in the future. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Big thumbs up for me if you like my video. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if there's any other things you want me to talk about, I'd really appreciate your comments. So thanks very much, guys, and see you later.